I'd like to imagine that you're God. Now, if you don't believe in God, that doesn't matter. I mean, the same sort of line would work with an evolutionary argument to some extent. But imagine that you're God. Imagine that as the summit of your creation, you're wanting to create intelligent, moral beings. And obviously they need some means of reproducing. So the first idea you might have is, how about just individual people have a baby? They can become pregnant all on their own. But then you think, hang on, maybe that's not going to work so well. Because when people are heavily pregnant, I mean, they're not capable of doing some things that they might normally do. So maybe that might be quite difficult. And if one person's got the baby, that really ties them up. It might be difficult to sustain the baby if one person needs to be there all the time. You haven't got another person to do other things. Also, if it's just one person, if that person's ill, say for a while, who's going to look after the baby? So we need to have a better system than that. Another problem with that system, I mean, you might end up like with a village with like loads of people all pregnant at the same time. So at the very least, we need a system of making sure at most, I mean, only half the people can be pregnant at the same time. But ideally, to bring up this baby, to bring up the child, we need a team. So the way we can make sure we get a team is to make it so you need more than one person to procreate. Right, how many people would we need? Well, I mean, you're God. I'm sure you could come up with a system for any number you liked. If you thought you wanted 3 people necessary to produce a baby, you could have rigged up a system that needed 3 people. But if you had a relationship with 3 or more people, let's say we've got 3, the 3 people are A, B, and C, then A and B would have a relationship with each other, but they'd also share in relating to C. So there wouldn't be just the intensity of the one-on-one relationship there. And then when children were added into that dynamic, that wouldn't be adding something new, because A and B already relate to another one as well in C. So better actually to just have 2 in the relationship. So you've got the one-to-one intensity, and then when children come along, that's adding a new dimension to the family. That way you get the strongest relationships. Also, if you've just got 2 parents, there's less chance that responsibility is going to be too diffused. If you've got 3 or 4 or 5, maybe you'd have the situation where people would think, well, I'll just leave it to the other one. It's not really my job. I can go and do my thing. There's enough people left to look after the baby. But a team of 2, well, that seems ideal. Right, this team of 2 parents, what are you going to make them like? Are you going to make them identical? Or how about giving them complementary qualities, different roles to some extent? Maybe you'd make one of them just better at being with young kids, maybe a bit more nurturing. Maybe you'd make one of them a bit more keen to be out and about doing the providing for the family, and maybe in general. Now, the advantage of that specialization might be that it avoids some conflict within the family. So instead of squabbling over who's going to do what, it's going to tend to be the situation where one person prefers to do one thing and one person might prefer to do the other thing. So how about the process of procreation? How's that going to work? Well, it needs to be enjoyable to make people want to do it, but it could do more than that. It could also serve to bond the couple together, to strengthen their relationship, and so that sustains family life, especially for the children in the future. That's a pretty clever idea you've had there, isn't it? So the same act that produces the kids also tends to produce a strong parental relationship, because you want kids to be growing up with their mum and their dad. So this is the best way of producing a system that's going to avoid dad disappearing off the scene. So what's the best way for this bonding effect of the procreative process to work? Well, you could have it this way. You could have it so the sex bonding effect gets stronger every time a person has sex with a new person. Well, that would be a bit useless, wouldn't it? Because people would think, oh, well, if I give up on this relationship, the next one is quite likely to be even better. So they'll be open to that possibility. So that's not good. How about if you had a system where the bonding effect of sex stayed the same with every person you had sex with? Well, that would encourage people, just try one, try another, try another. It doesn't really matter. You've got just as much chance, with the 9th partner. But if that happens, what's going to happen in the meantime? Well, people are experimenting, trying out. There'll be lots of babies produced in suboptimal circumstances, shall we say, a lot of broken hearts along the way. So how about this option? That you design sex so that the bonding effect from it gets weaker every time. So its strongest relational bonding effect is between 2 people when they have sex for the first time, if they haven't had sex with anyone else before then. And that maximizes the chance of forming a stable family unit. It minimises the risk of babies being born outside a stable family unit. And that would encourage people to adopt what's the best strategy, particularly for women, and that's to only have sex with the person you want to be with for the rest of your life. So don't have sex till you're sure you've found the person you want to commit to permanently. Then use the maximum bonding effect of first-time sex with that person. That's the logic. But slight problem, you've also made sex fun. And because you made it fun, people are going to want to engage in it indiscriminately. So if you're God, what can you do about that? Well, there's not much you can do physically, but what can you build into their brain there? Could you build an intuition into their brain, into their conscience, that's going to help with that problem? And it seems like that's what's happened. If you look within people's intuitions around the world, if you ask them what they think is important, what are the moral values related to sex, people all over the world normally say sex should be mutual, so it's not for some sort of other reward or part of some deal or paid for. It should be something that both people want to enter into. It should be individuated, a desire for a particular person, not just for sex in general. In other words, it should be the foundation of a relationship, not just a physical experience. It should be part of a committed long-term relationship, and that relationship should be exclusive, so there's only sex with the one person rather than with other people at the same time. So you could build those intuitions into people, and that's good, but it's not quite enough, because the ideal is to maximize the chance of lifelong relationship, kids in a stable home, use the best bonding effect for the first time with a committed life partner. But how can people know that they've found a committed life partner? Just ask them. I mean, there's quite a few people who'd be likely to say, yep, that's me, in order to get sex. So how do you check that they really are committed like that? And the answer is that you have the public, legal, religious ceremony, formal contract of marriage. The idea being that people don't have sex before then. Now, this idea of marriage as a human universal, by which I mean it's found in every human society ever known to man. There's some minor variations in it, but the basic idea is there everywhere. So why is that? Is it that every society in human history has thought it through and decided that that's what they should do? Or is it built in to our conscience one way or another? I think the evidence seems to be that it's built in. But it also needs society to sustain that. And when a society deliberately rejects this institution of marriage, which is what's happened in the West, then problems ensue. Now, in the Scottish Family Party, part of what we want to do is to strengthen and sustain the institution of marriage in Scotland, because it's the perfect system to produce the best for adults, children, and society in general. It's a brilliant piece of design, or if you like, it's a brilliant outcome from an evolutionary process. Take your pick, but it works really well. So in terms of politics in Scotland, we're not entering into an existing debate here. We're laying the foundations for a new debate. We're opening up a new issue in Scottish politics. And to hear more about how and why we're going to do that, subscribe to this channel and listen to the ongoing series. Thanks for watching.